We've got a big one today, guys. I know a lot of you have been watching the Surron Ultra Bee content that I've been putting out, and I'm in the process of doing a long-term review of this bike. And part of that review is testing out a 2118 wheel combo, because I think it's something that this bike really needs off-road. And so we've just got the 2118 mounted up on the Surron Ultra Bee, and I'm gonna take it for the first ride right now. So I'm gonna put the GoPro on, take you guys along for the ride, and we'll talk about the new 2118 wheel combo for the Surron Ultra Bee. Before we get into the ride, if you're a soon-to-be Ultra Bee owner, we've got these KKE wheels for sale at ECR Parts. The current MSRP is $599 for the complete wheel set, and we have them in gold, red, and blue. Check the link in the description or go to parts.electriccyclerider.com. All right, so before we get going on the Ultra Bee here, there's an important thing that we need to point out, and that is when you switch the wheels from a 1919 to a 2118, you can no longer use the traction control setting. That is not a big deal to me because I don't use traction control in most scenarios anyways, so not a big deal, but it's this button here on the left. You click this 3 times and then it says ASR, that's your traction control. Shows you right here that your traction control is on as well. So 3 clicks to turn that off, and you need that off now. So unfortunately, 2118 and traction control are currently 2 things that don't agree with each other. Part of the pros and cons to running a 2118, but let's go figure more of that out. Hit ready. Here we go. Oh man. First 10 seconds reaction. Pumped. My first impressions are often pretty good with these things. Over the years that I've been trying these bikes, what I feel immediately is often pretty accurate. And what I'm feeling immediately with the 2118 right now is a huge improvement in handling. All right, let's get on some single track here and try this out. This stuff is so blown out right now. Really dry, really sandy. Need some rain down here. Oh man, I am able to be so much more aggressive on this bike right now. Especially in the corners. Wow, that is so noticeable. I can't believe how much different this bike feels. I know a lot of that is due to tires. I'm running the Bridgestone M59 up front and the Dunlop MX33 on the rear. 2 tires that I am really familiar with. I run them on all my bikes, or I should say my big bikes at least. So there's a bit of familiarity there, but man, the traction I'm getting right now is amazing. That's crazy. It really is crazy. I've been riding this stuff on the stock wheel and tire combo, and I feel like I'm able to ride so much better right now. I'm gonna throw a hypothetical at you guys. Woo, it's dusty. So hypothetical, if you could get a Bridgestone M59 and a Dunlop MX33 to fit the stock 1919. I would imagine that this bike would feel better for that reason alone, because the stock tires are just not very aggressive. So I'll just say that this is partially tires and partially wheel size. I do personally prefer the 21 up front. I think it makes the bike better to ride, less twitchy up front, more planted and stable and direct, and I'm feeling that right now for sure. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. You know, there are negatives to running these bigger wheels and bigger tires, and I'm also feeling that right now, which is the most noticeable, a big decrease in power. It definitely weighs the bike down a lot. We're getting close to, I think, 10 pounds of added weight, which is unsprung weight in the wheels and tires. And yeah, that's noticeable. I mean, you feel it, but there's pros and cons to it. More stable, for sure. A little less light and nimble feeling, but depends who you ask. Those can be pros or cons depending on who you're talking to. If you're talking to me, I think it's a pro, but that's just me. So there will be power mods for this bike. I mean, it's inevitable. Obviously, that's going to happen. Everybody's trying to work that out right now. I know EBMX specifically is trying to get the X9000 controller to be compatible with this bike. And so that will be a good power option, but I want to point out it's got a relatively small sprocket on it, stock, just kind of like the Light Bee. And you know, in this stuff that I'm riding right now, you don't really need a lot more high speed, but you do need more torque. So I think going up to a 54 or maybe 58 tooth rear sprocket will help some of this feel of a decrease in torque and acceleration from the wheel combo. So it might not mean that because you do wheels and tires, you also have to do a power upgrade if you want to retain stock power feel on this bike. I think a bigger sprocket would make a pretty big difference here and probably be a cure for a lot of riders. Wow, man. I gotta take a second. I'm just like, I get in the zone talking to you guys, trying to think about what I'm feeling and relay it, and I get like real focused on that when I'm riding, but I'm trying to step back for a second and realize like, this is so fun. I've been riding this bike so much, and it's amazing what a change like this can do to make a bike feel completely different, and it's so fun right now. This is awesome, and these conditions are not great. Type of conditions that I was cursing not that long ago, but somehow I'm feeling some rejuvenation on this bike with this wheel set. It is deep sand, guys. I know the camera doesn't pick this stuff up, but this is like, I'm riding on the beach right now, basically, with whoops. And for those of you that have ridden Croom in the middle of the winter when there's been no rain, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Oh man, situations where I know the Ultra Bee would tuck the front end and make me feel really apprehensive in corners is now saving itself with this wheel combo. So it makes the bike feel bigger too. Obviously, you're increasing the ride height with these bigger wheels and tires. And I'm not saying that like the bike feels like a 125 to me, it still feels lighter than that. But, and potentially a little bit smaller in terms of the cockpit. But I've got the 2022 Husqvarna TC 125 two-stroke right now. And I would bargain that this seat height is now feeling pretty similar to that Husky 125. It's definitely quite a bit taller. And I think that's a good thing. I don't feel like top heavy or anything like that. But man, I feel like I'm on a dirt bike right now and like having this little bit of an epiphany, because you consider this like a mid-size kind of smaller bike. I'm not sure I want to be on a bigger bike than this. Just at all, in general. Like, I'm loving this size. So to sum things up, I am so impressed with this right now. I have been loving the Surron Ultra Bee in general, but right from the get-go, I thought that it should have a 21 on the front. And now that it does, I think it handles amazing. It is just feeling way more like a dirt bike. I can ride it more aggressively. I can trust the front end. It just grabs so much more. You've got more cushion now too, so the suspension's working better. Everything feels just better on this bike. Like feels like it was designed for a 2118 if I'm honest, but I'm really happy with it. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. You know, it is down on power quite a bit as a result. And I think a Sprocket would fix a lot of that. You know, I do think that I'd be pretty happy with this bike with just a Sprocket, but obviously adding some more power to it would be great too. So yeah, it's you open up a can of worms, you know, whenever you do this stuff, and this bike is no different. Can of worms has been opened, but I'm happy about it. Another thing is that, yeah, it doesn't feel as light and nimble. It does weigh it down a little bit and makes it feel more stable, but less snappy and nimble. So depending on what kind of feel you're after, that's something to take into account too. But for me, this is the way that I want the bike to feel personally. So if you're like me, check these out. We have them for sale at ECR Parts. You can go to parts.electriccyclerider.com or check the links in the description, and we can sell you a set of these wheels if you want some. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoy it, and let me know if you have any questions. See you later.